Well, welcome to another edition of the Motley Croc Show. My gosh, it's Thursday, the 16th of November. It just seems like things keep going by so fast, Jeff. I
Oh yeah.
can't even
What's up,
keep up.
y'all?
So, how are you doing today? How's everybody doing? Beginner's Guides here. It says, "Come on, guys, let's go. My husband's distracted by losers." Don't know what that means, but I'm just going to go with it. Everybody else is joining us tonight, man. Thanks for coming in. Looks like it might just be me and Jeff tonight. There's some other stuff
Hey,
going on out
Judy.
there. And we can talk about things. So, some of the stuff we want to talk about is some stuff Jeff and I were talking about a little bit before we went on the air. And then, so I've done the Great American Teach here with the animals. And I
Same.
remember a few years I've done things and some weird stuff that kids have done while we've been there.
Same.
What they do. And it's just sometimes it's crazy. So I want to, as we go into the show a little bit after we kind of touch base with Jeff and see how his new home's going and so on and so forth, we'll break into some stuff. What's up, Bill? We'll break into some stuff and go from there. So, anyways, Jeff, it looks like you're in your new place. Kind of excited to hear about it. How is it, buddy?
Live from the new layer. It's really good, man. I got here. I moved most of my stuff in on Tuesday. I had some movers come. So they were a family of a friend of mine. So they did. Hey, what's up, Craig?
Greg.
They did a pretty good, job. I didn't really expect that I had that much stuff, especially since Emily had moved out. But they came with a 26-foot truck and packed it to the gills. And I had all the animals in my car. It took 2 trips in my car to bring all the animals up, all the snakes, and then I still had to rent a 15-foot truck yesterday to bring the rest of it up here. The bank owns it really, but I am the record, it's mine, all mine. I'm the only one on it. First time ever I bought a house with nobody else on the note. So it's all me all the time.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, brother. And as you could tell, I'm letting my facial hair grow a little wild. So
well, I don't know. I was really loving that Ron Jeremy mustache you had last week.
Thanks, man. I might do it back. I got a lot of
compliments. Well, that shit was cool. I don't know why, because I can't pull that off. I can't do a mustache like that. I look like Freddie Mercury. I just don't think I'm like that,
I've only done that one other time. And then I had to have some surgery on the side of my face, so I had to trim my beard. And I can't be without facial hair. I've had facial hair since facial hair had me, and it's part of me. It really is.
Since I've met you, bro.
Oh yeah, dude. I've had a beard or a mustache, and it's been going on, the better part of a decade now. And it's crazy that it seems like yesterday. So I had to do something. And last time I had my fit test for my respirator. And even though I have a really good respirator, I provide my own because I don't. Hey, thanks so much. It's so true, Craig. It's unreal. I'd love to show you guys like the amount of stacked up sterilites. I spent $120 on sterilites to move the animals because I've had so many.
Daniel, I spend that much money every week on sterilites because he leaves them outside or he sits on them and breaks them, breaks the handles off, gives them away, leaves them in the car. So that's a weekly expenditure right there with Daniel. So.
It's crazy, man. I like right now they're all inside. I'm trying to build out the garage. I was out looking at oil-filled heaters earlier. What I think I'm going to do is just set them up in the office for now until I get situated in the garage. Doc is still in a big sterilite tub. He fits great side to side, but I can't put the top on it, so he's just chilling. And I'm going to build him a little bit of a nice little enclosure right outside the fence line, so Captain can't fuck with him. And who's that? Tara 7.
That's Sarah next door. That's my neighbors. Daniel is her boyfriend now.
Oh, I didn't know you guys were together.
Yep, they got together. Yep.
Nice.
She got permission from Sean if she could have a platonic throuple. So Daniel's only allowed to expose himself, but he's not allowed to do anything else. And I'm sorry, folks. I'm actually drinking a little bit of whiskey. I'm
man. We all need it.
So we're gonna have a wild ride between me and Jeff tonight. And I did get one that Jimmy might be on. Kimberly, what's up, Kimbo? Slice.
Kim?
And we love Kim. I love Kim. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to make sure.
No, you're good, man. And it's great. Like I said, when I first got this place, it wasn't my first choice. But now that I have me here, my stuff here, I've had some great help, and it's really starting to come together. And if I can realize my vision for it, it's just going to be awesome. The fence guy called me. The Hernando County permit came in, so he's building on Monday. It's a 1-day job. So I'm kind of psyched on that. And the dog's really good. Now that he's got a little more space even on the inside of the house to run around. He's not chasing the cats as much, and he's not eating as much crap. So it's going to be fine. I'm digging it.
I'm excited. I can't wait to come up. I want to come up and see it. I'm excited.
Yeah, dude. I can't wait, man. I'm going to have a housewarming party. I'm going to fire up the big green egg and make some fucking brisket. And
I'll bring some people to eat.
I know you don't eat the swine.
I'll eat that.
Bro,
if you're going to go on your green egg, I don't normally do it.
Oh, man, I make some pulled pork mac and cheese or something, man.
We're going to get all the jokes like, oh, he's Jewish. He doesn't eat swine. Well, that's not true.
I eat plenty of swine, man. I probably eat
swine. Yeah, alive and dead, if you know what I mean. Let's see here.
I've been known. But yeah, so I've been just kind of letting this shit grow, dude. It's now I kind of got like the 70s picture thing going.
I like it, bro.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I like it. It's so nice. I used to keep like a small goatee and stuff when I met Jeff. And that shave, but now that I haven't been and I could just run a little quick and keep it trimmed, it's so much easier. It's so much easier to do that. I mean, the longest time is now putting this back in bands because you wake up in the morning and it looks like buckwheat fell asleep under your neck. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things. But yeah, Jeff, we've had quite a time, and I think she was referencing not picking on her boyfriend, Daniel. But I can tell you that we did the Great American Teach today. So for those of you that have popped on that know who I am from the Motley Croc Show at the schools, remember I said we do a show called the Motley Croc Show. It's not for children, so this is more of an adult rated show. This is for the parents once the kids are in bed. What's up, Michelle? Once the kids go to bed, we can kind of cut loose and tell stories. And kids say some pretty crazy things. And one day today, a little black kid asked us if animals were scared of blacks. Now we're in a classroom in front of 80 kids, and Daniel goes, well, Daniel went in like he malfunctioned like RoboCop. He was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And he's like, next question, you didn't even know how to answer it. It just sidewinded him, dude. So it's a very, to be honest with you, that was a good question.
Valid question.
Sometimes animals, when they see people of a darker color, and they don't necessarily have to be black, it can be, Hindu or Indian or somebody with a really good tan. Sometimes animals find darker colors a dominant figure, so therefore they automatically go on the defensive. So I don't necessarily think that they're scared. It's a perception thing with them. So it's really the animals being racist, not me talking about it, because I'm saying that that's normally what happens, Jeff. So
dogs, I think, as more especially than the others.
Right, they do. They get weird about it sometimes. So it really depends, and I don't know what it is, but anyways, we know that darker colors generally are more dominant. We just know that that's a dominant feature, right? So let's see here. My husband said it's too much work. Why can't I grab you and give you a kiss? It's not nomination. Well, I think she's still talking about her husband shaved off his beard or something like that, and he's tired of it. Which you get to that point, So another thing, so it was kind of rainy day a little bit, and there's kids, and we try to remain professional. I do.
Sure.
And I hear some things I try not to laugh at, or somebody will say, the kids will say something, and then you look at one of the teachers and you kind of laugh a little bit,
It's hard not to, man.
What was funny was I was filming, and Daniel decided he wasn't going to wear underwear today, and he wore his looser khakis. Now we're in front of kids. So
was Daniel showing the outline or what?
He was lining it, bro. He was laying it to the left. And I remember filming it, and I sent it to Sean. I was like, hey, look, Daniel's doing a good job. And he really was. He was like, oh, he was like, hemipene this and hemipene that and touchy strokey scale, blah, blah, blah. He was going off. And I sent the video over, and I said, man, look how he's well spoken. And then, then he said, Tara said that he needs to stop walking around like that, flopping around in front of them kids, and I didn't realize it till I went back and looked at the video, and I'm like, oh my God, dude. How would you call that out? Now, remember, folks, this is the adult side. We did not bring that up in the classroom. We did not bring attention to it. Like, I didn't put a laser pointer on it or anything like that. But it was just funny that he did that, dude. And because he had the real flimsy ones on instead of, the ones that hold him together. Right, so, he would walk across the room with a snake, and it was jumping from one side to the next, and one side to the next.
We talk about the snake or Daniel's
dangling Dan. And so it's the only reason I noticed that is because sometimes I'm a little twitchy, and so I can't Now I can't focus on anything but Daniel's dongler, dude, like just bouncing around in there, dude. Like I'm thinking, don't walk around anymore. Stop walking because like you just don't notice. Like if somebody's doing something obnoxious or they talk to you and they got a twitch, they're like, "Hey, can I get a and you can't help but look at it. Now you're looking at it. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
it was one of those things that just crazy. And so, have you ever done an event with kids at a school with your reptiles? And some of the kids like have done really weird or off things, because I have some stories that I will put a
Oh,
comic
yeah,
book
man.
twist on that we have had happen in the past 5 years that I've been doing this with what kids say and do. So I'd like you, Jeff, to kick it off. And
Yeah,
anybody in
man.
the
I'm trying
comments,
to
if
think of a good
you've seen
story.
anything that's weird. I mean,
I've done the teaching for about 7 years, I think, and this year
okay.
is the first year I didn't do it because I thought I was actually working. I called out today and yesterday because I had too much stuff to move, and I wanted to
I'm
make
glad
sure
you did.
everything got done, you know. And obviously, you know, you could plan a move down to the last box, and it never goes quite as planned. So you know, I wish I knew, because I might have done it today, especially because my animals are already all packed up. And I've had some funny ones though, man. I remember I don't know if you remember that big retic I had, the yellow one with the like squiggly mustard stripe down it.
I do.
Yeah, that thing was great, man. That was one of my, that and Cleo, the Burmese that Kimmy has, were my two biggest education animals, because they were big, they were scary looking, but they were puppy dogs.
Right,
So
exactly.
the first year I did the teaching, I bought Meyer. That was the big retic. And I'm
Right.
standing there, and the kids are totally interested. They're just like, especially the boy, they're in awe of this snake, you know. And all of a sudden, one looks at it and goes, "What's happening to its butt?" And Cap, what are you eating? Come here, buddy. Oh,
He's eating a cap. It
he's eating
sounds
a trachea. He's got a little chewy trachea. So one of the kids looks and points and goes, "Ew!" All of a sudden, this fucking retic, and those of you who have retics knows how bad this can fucking be. Lets loose musk and shit and piss all over the floor, and it stunk up the whole fucking school. The whole
Oh
second floor
man.
of the school just reeked. You know, it smelled like, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, but it smelled like the fucking, you know, I don't even want to get into it, but it smelled like it was fucking terrible, dude.
Oh, that just
And and then the custodian comes in, you know, the fucking custodian comes in to clean it up. I was like, "No, man, I got this." He's like, "No, but it's my job." And, you know, he's wearing his like green fucking Dickies, like the guy, you know, one of the guys from Scooby Doo who was under the mask. And yeah, it was pretty crazy though, how bad it stank. And but the kids, you know, once it was all done and over with, the kids that were still into it, and they wanted to see more. And my blue tongue skink, my retics, and Doc the tortoise were always my big draws, man. Always my big draws.
they like the big tortoises.
Oh, they love the tortoise, because I let them come over and pet them on the back. And
But have you had any kids do anything ridiculous?
oh, I haven't had any kid shit on the floor yet.
I have.
Let me see. Kids doing ridiculous stuff. I've had kids like try to touch stuff and accidentally like fling it, like snakes and stuff like that, you know. I had a spider, my Choco Goldney, which was perfect for education because this thing was so chill. It was about that big. I raised it since it was like a second instar spiderling, and I had a kid take it and you know, he's like, "I want to hold it." So I was letting some of the kids hold it because they were pretty chill. As soon as he got it, you know, it kind of moved a little bit. And he flipped it up and it landed on my shoulder and walked down the middle of my back. So I'm sitting there, I'm like trying to get the thing, you know, trying to get it to get under my hands. And some little girl out of nowhere walks up, puts her hand out, spider crawls right onto it. She hands it to me. She's like, "Here you go." Like nothing, dude.
You have nice kids, man. I mean, that's
for the most part.
I don't know. We'll get into some of the other stuff. I mean, some of the things these kids do are just, I mean, wow, dude. Like, we were rolling through classes. We went out to a school today. I won't say the name because it's, you know, it's whatever, but it was a really good school. Yesterday, really good school. I went with an FWC officer, and one of his kids or his daughter was in the one class that we did, and we had a really good time, man. I mean, we had so much fun out there, and the kids were lit up. We brought the I'm doing the nice stuff right now. Why people are listening before we get into the, you know, the shitty stuff, because there's some shitty fucking kids, folks. I don't know which one of you guys feel a certain way about, but there are some kids that are just plain assholes.
Yep.
They are, and no one goes, they're just a child. Bullshit. They know what they're doing, and they're assholes. But the good ones that we get, both of these schools were really good schools, and the teachers did an outstanding job because we had some classes where these kids were like second graders or kindergartners. They didn't say a word. Like they were told to be quiet. They used their inside voices. They raised their hand. One of my kids is you'll say something like, "Hey, who has a question?" And they'll go, "Me," and they had their hand up. They're like, "Come on!"
Oh
hey.
yeah. I get right? A lot of those. It's always the same kid.
Yeah. What's your question? And everybody's standing there, right? And here's kid. Yeah. And all the kids look at him like, okay, we'll come back to you, you know. We'll come back to you. Or they'll say something like, what's your question? You have like an owl. What's your question? Turtles like water. We go, okay.
I like turtles.
What's up, Jim? Yeah, I like turtles. But I mean, it's just
Jim?
funny what they do. I remember being in like second and third grade. I know you do too. So I don't understand what's going on with kids.
I'm streaming from the new crib.
What is this? I'm trying to see what is it. I'm confused. I'm sure. Have you ever seen Lord Doja? I don't know, but so crappy. No, I don't really watch a lot of anime stuff, but so I probably haven't seen that. And they'll ask you questions and they go on, and so you know, I remember just some of them will blow you away. So you'll move down to like 4 kids and you'll say, "Hey, what's this?" And they'll go, "Oh, well, those animals are ectothermic. So when it gets cold outside, their blood temperature drops to the same. So they get stuck sometimes in certain areas, and then they can't digest their food." And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, where'd you come from?
I'm like, everybody, that was one of the best things. Thank you for that. You know, you clap, right? You're like, these people pay attention. And the FWC officer, he always reaches out with, you guys want to talk about, he leads into the animals with resources. So what are some of the natural resources in Florida? Some people say dirt. The kids will say, some kid today said a gun. And I'm looking around like, well, that's a first one. I think he was right. He saw the officer's gun on his side, you know, and he's like, oh, he saw my gun or whatever. He goes, that is a resource. It's a good one, but it's a man-made resource, you know? And then they'll say something like dirt or water. And then you have to go, well, what's a natural wild resource, you know? And they'll say like 100 billion things before they get to, like, they'll say, what's Florida famous for? And they'll say, what animal's Florida? And they'll say, an eagle. You know, whatever they heard, a chinchilla, whatever was on their mind, you know.
Right, just throwing out guesses. It's the shotgun style, man. You keep firing until you hit something.
Yep. And then I'll put this up too while we're talking. We can read what Craig said. And then someone finally goes alligator, and then you bring it out. It's like, ooh. So you know, the thing that I have a good time with is that I remember the kids when we were kids and we got to see that, bro. You just wanted to see that reptile.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
You knew the reptile dirtbag was coming. The old shitty van would pull in, you know. Here comes this disgusting guy, puts a cigarette out on his shoe. You know, he has an old wooden box that says, you know, animals on it. He brings out this just rickety Savannah monitor, a half-dead lizard, you know, some snake with his tail dragging like it's 100 years old. And I just remember that, dude. And then
I remember those old reptile shows.
You want to
wear like a Steve Irwin thing with the fucking with my school with like the khaki top and shorts.
Oh man. Yep. Craig, I'll read this to everybody in case. It says, myself and one other guy took 2 gators to a college cheerleader event. 1,500 female cheerleaders. At the end, 4 ladies asked up in the room because they had left their camera up there and wanted to pick with the gators. Wink, wink. My partner refused to go. Well, it's not his fault that your partner's gay, and it's okay. I guess that's just not their cup of tea, but Craig, I hope you went up there.
Yeah, I hope you did, man. I know Craig went up there and showed him how it's done.
Jim Brinkley, yeah, we had a rattlesnake guy. Yeah, they would do that. Like they would back in the day, you could put anything in there and they would come up. Like I remember we were out in Arizona and they would bring like the horny toads, which every time he goes, hey, everybody, there's a horny toad. All your friends are like, huh, horny, you know, because you're like that age. Oh, he said horny. But yeah, the horny toads would come in, the desert tarantula, the desert tortoise, the chuckwalla. If anybody knows what a chuckwalla is, man. One of the coolest lizards.
Totally underrepresented in the hobby.
100%. And I remember seeing them in the wild in Arizona. It's like the coolest thing to come up and you find these like chuckwallas or the adult male western green collared lizard. The
Oh
female.
yeah, dude. I saw some collards when I was out there, and the desert
I love you,
iguanas.
Craig.
There's so much cool shit out there.
Oh, dude. The lizards, even the swifts. And I love Arizona.
Yep,
When I
Swiss.
think about Arizona, I get excited. Like,
I
Jeff,
know. I want to move
you
back
want to
there
just
so
move there and
bad,
buy a
dude.
compound? I love it there.
I live in the middle of the desert in a nice little compound.
I'm tied in here with what I do for a living. So unless I had some really good management that I could trust back and forth, I wouldn't be able to go just yet. I mean, I can't
The
where
Motley
I'm at. I
compound.
can't just what I'm doing just doesn't pick up and go. I can't just go to it. And some of my accounts are important to me, and it's hard. But I absolutely love Arizona. And
Me too. It's my favorite place I've ever lived, bar none.
The Phoenix Herb Society, bar none, is badass too. That place.
We should do a trip this year, man, before it gets too hot.
You know what? We might want to try that, guys. We actually do stuff with Flavio. That might be a good idea, where we can take a trip and run out there and check out some of those animals and stuff, because just Arizona itself is amazing. The ghost towns, the mine shafts.
Yep.
It's just
great place to push people down.
Riding, just the western sky. I mean, it's just a beautiful time of year. I really love the monsoons when they used to come. I would go back.
I like monsoons.
I would like to time travel back to when I was a kid and we're just hanging out there in the washes trying to catch things, and the spade foots and the crazies. Just the fauna there is just amazing.
Rattlesnakes. I think there's like 14 varieties of rattlesnakes in and around the Phoenix area.
The Arizona black rattlesnake, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Probably my favorite rattlesnake. Probably.
One of my Arizona Mountain Kings got out today out of the Sterilite I had him in, or the Tupperware, and got out into the living room. Those are the only kings that I'm holding on to. Is my mountain. He just
got out of his primary containment. He didn't get out of the whole containment.
Exactly. He stayed in the house.
That's right. He's not going to leave. He knows where his bread's buttered, bro.
Yeah, it's his temporary containment. Gila monsters, Judy, is what I've never seen a Gila monster in the wild.
Oh, dude, all the time. So one morning, my parents bought these goats named Bucky and Waddles, right? The male goats have these little waddles that hang off their chin. It looks a little bit like the roosters whatever they have.
Originals are super cool.
So the goats were like, they were up on top of the there you go. She said, congrats. They were up on top of their house. And I went out there and like, what the hell? And I'm a kid. So I saw this Gila monster that was probably, I would say 18 to 19 inches, but I was a kid. I was probably like 11 years old. So to me, it was 8 feet long. You know what I'm saying? So now I know that they're dangerous, dude. And we're taught in school, like, you don't pick them up, don't touch them. You'll die or whatever. So I'd try to find my dad's guard tools and I would grab the tail, you know what I mean? And I would like keep it away from me and I'd get a garbage can. And then I would keep him in a garbage can. And my dad would come home and my mom was like, he's got one of those killing, because back then they were, first of all, they were overhunted. They were endangered because they were using them for the skins, obviously.
Yep.
We would always see him dead on the road. And it was really sad because you couldn't pick up the skin. Because I was like, get the skin. Well, it's illegal. You can't do it. So it just gets to sit there and rot away or whatever. But I remember catching, she's like, oh, he did again. So my poor dad, he had to load this garbage can in the van and drive way out to the Pantano, wash them, release them. It was they had the Gila monster in the dog crate, bro, and he would hiss. And I have Gila monsters now. I have Gila monsters and
Gila derms. Can't wait to get Gila derms, man. I'm dying to get some Gila derms.
I love Gila derms. I think they're the coolest things, man. Like, they're probably my favorite lizard,
definitely.
Lizards for say. But the Arizona black rattlesnake is the one you showed me about. The Arizona black rattlesnake is
they're amazing,
bro. They look cool. So, and then we would catch rattlesnakes. I remember running out. We'd be like screwing around in the desert, and
probably a lot of westerns,
dude. Like, sometimes if you weren't careful, man, like you would just step right on one, dude. I know now why there were a lot of snake boots out there, because it's not that they're trying, like, these snakes are like attacking us or anything, but you'll step on one and its reaction is to spin around and bite you. They stepped on it, and you don't realize it. And Arizona snake boots are pretty cool, anyways. The ones that they sell out there with the big, the Kevlar bite leg parts and stuff. It's pretty cool.
We used to have a pair of those when we first started going herping.
Yeah, I think I remember that. He'd wear them. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot more westerns than there are easterns out here. There's westerns freaking everywhere out there.
Oh yeah, I think like easterns are a lot more reclusive here, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. I think the westerns are a lot more likely to be out and about.
Yeah, for sure. I remember finding an Eastern Diamondback. We were down by the racetrack in Miami, that Clearwater racetrack, and on the opposite side, they have those culprit where the water runs through the little culprit center
Yeah,
areas.
you told me about that spot.
Little
There's a
teeny
lot
guy,
of
dude. There was a
Diamondbacks.
little teeny one. I'm like, Flavio, we found an EDB, and was just a little guy. And I'm used to seeing them. A lot of people don't see them in the wild, so they're like, oh my god, I've never seen one. It's my dream. They cry
I've
for a little
only
bit.
seen 2 live ones since I've been here.
Dude, over by the saltwater, down by Bullfrog Creek and all that stuff down there in Ruskin. Listen, dude, or Gibsonton, you'll see them. There's a lot of rattlesnakes out there. Yeah, you can kayak out to some of them islands, dude, and they're on the islands. Like, I remember running through it with me and my buddy Stu. We were kayaking and we were running through the other side to drive the kayaks over this little island thing, and we ran into 2 of them going through the forest part. I'm like, oh my god, dude, there's big rattlesnakes down here. How cool is this? So, and we were moving, probably could have stepped on them, but they were cool. They were like probably 4.5, 5 feet. They weren't huge, but they were big enough.
Nice. Yeah, I want to go up to Coombs Wildlife Management Area it's up north of me toward Ocala. That place, I've been seeing a lot of pictures posted of a lot of corals, a lot of pygmies, just some really cool shit. So indigos,
dude, indigos are
I haven't seen a live indigo in the wild yet. That's my holy grail, man.
Yep. Well, I mean, if we can ever get out that way again and do another tour like that, we can.
Hell yeah, dude.
Really pull it together. Yeah, really pulling it together. So, back to doing some stuff with kids. We were in this. We were doing a show. I think it was like 2 years ago. It was me and my nephew, and there was this little boy in the front row, and he has on like these like little red shorts, and he was like really into it. He's like looking up, and and he pulls his sack out of his pants. And he's like twisting the skin in the front row. Dude.
Hold on one second. Let me kill this dog here. Hey,
like whatever's happening, Go ahead, bro. You can do it. And he's like twisting his ball skin. I had to walk over nonchalantly to tell one of the teachers, I'm like, he has his genitalia out up there, and he's like got it all stretched up, and he's like rubbing it on his leg, like he's got his ball bag, and he's like has his thumb into it, and he's like rubbing it on his leg, and he's just totally staring at what we're doing. Like, this is the coolest thing. But it was like his security thing to grab
like
his
a nervous tick, right?
Yeah, it's like, he's pinch and roll, does the pinch and roll like I used to do on the bulldog after we got him fixed. We
got a pinch and roll.
Got to stretch his little skin out sometimes. It's going to itch him and he can't reach it. So I had an English bulldog, and we used to call the pinch and roll. And he would back up to me, and I'd grab his little sack, and I'd rub it between my fingers and stretch it. He'd get all excited and run off because it itched and he couldn't touch it. We had to take his goods off. And then another time we were with this, you just said that your snake shit on the floor, but this kid like stood up. He was like sitting there, and he kept rocking, back and forth, and I'm like, okay, he's either got to pee or he stands up in front of everybody, dude. He takes his pants down. He like pushes out a nugget and drops it on the floor and pulls his pants
out of here
right next to it, dude. So they're like, oh, they're like, okay, it's a biohazard. Step back, and everybody's looking at this turd. Ew. So you got like 15 kids. Look at that big thing, dude. So and so made a poopy. It was just to me, and I think to myself,
hard not to laugh.
I did laugh. I'm like, somebody's fucking with me, bro. Like, because no kid just stands up and shoots a laser turd out like that. Like it hit so hard it made like a ruffle out. Yes, just sat there with that little hook on the top. And everybody was looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on?
Am I getting punked here? Or
cameras, like, oh, DU coming in. We got you, Troy, you motherfucker. We got you.
That's right, fucking. You just got punked with your reptiles.
But it was literally really happened. Like, he just shot a big old turd out on the floor, man. He just stood up and shot it out. Like, the kid behind him, he pushed it harder. It landed in his lap. I mean, he just pushed it out. And then he sat back down like it was no thing, dude. Like it was nothing. So, I mean, I never would have thought about doing that in 4th grade. And I'm just going to stand up. I'm going to shoot one out right here. I guess he was just so interested he wasn't going to leave the room. Now, sometimes I expect that when you go into some of the special needs classes, there's going to be accidents and things because it's different.
Sure.
It's a whole different thing.
Makes sense.
So we just try to make sure. But the kids just do weird things. Like, they ask really random questions that can be uncomfortable. And they say some really, like, you just wonder where they get this from. Like, what makes them say these types of things.
Yeah, kids are, you never know what's it called? Fucking Cosby had kids say the darndest things. Yeah, has no idea, dude.
I know it's and they either learn, or you'll hear like really young kids say stuff that you just know they got from one of their parents. Like, oh yeah, we can kill those and chop off their tails. You know that they've been watching their dad poach alligators.
Oh, hell yeah. I always see at the reptile
They put
shows.
their hand like this behind their arm. You know how they grab like their arm like this and hold it, and then they go, my 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 dad my dad grabs them out of our back leg. Like they have to take a deep breath every time talk, and then they cut off his tail, and we have it with macaroni and cheese. And then they start rocking again. You're like, oh, you just told that to everybody and the officer in the room that your dad pulls them out of the backyard.
Just like, what's your dad's
chops off their tails. Exactly. Like, why would you say that, man? It just why would you do that in front of your kids when they're like fourth graders? You know they're going to be singing and dancing. It's just
yeah. No, kids can't keep secrets. That's plain and simple fact right there.
No, and but did your kids actually act like that? Like they were scared to say something? So like, oh well,
oh, some did, yeah.
There was always because I mean, Ruby doesn't give a fuck. She just says,
"Oh no, not my kids. Like my kids. No, I thought you meant the.
I mean, what's going on with all these kids?
Hell no.
Ruby, they eat too much McDonald's or processed food is slowing them down. I mean,
Ruby says anything that comes to her mind. I remember like we were out at the store and there was like a cashier with long hair and there's a guy standing right in front of us. She looks at me, no whispering, no nothing. She's like, "Dad, is that a girl or a boy?"
Oh my gosh!
Like hey. She's got no filter. She's hilarious.
Yeah, you don't know, but they're kids.
I was like, "Yeah, sorry, long hair. What are you gonna do? You take that risk."
Some of them may be on the spectrum, but some of them are. Most of them are just. No, I just think kids are like a little weirder now. I think they're so used to playing with cell phones and being into the digital world. I think they forget how to communicate with the outside world.
Right. Everything's Roblox and all that shit.
Okay, here's Craig. Have you guys ran into this? I stopped going to schools, which was primarily here in Seminole County, because they wanted insurance bonds I can't afford. Like my corn snake is going to crawl down and suffocate a toddler. Listen, man, I can tell you what a corn snake is.
I was going to say, you know about corn snakes. So
Daniel has taken a corn snake and cost me Daniel could have got his F-150. He could have rode it like an F-150, like his favorite country song. No, I have not run into that yet, but I am licensed and insured anyways. So I carry that insurance and those bonds. I have bonds on everything anyways. So it covers all my class 3 or any wildlife I take off property. So I have not run into it. It has not been asked, but if I did, I do actually possess that.
I think if you're a vendor and you get paid, I think there's a lot more formalities with the teaching. It's just usually parents coming in. So I think that it's a lot more lax.
And I know that once you go in, if you're going to become a regular at that school, they're not as, I mean, they take your driver's license, but one school, they do the diddler test. They ask you a bunch of questions and then they call you like 5 days before you're coming in so you can get tested to make sure you're not a diddler. You know what I mean? Like they look you up and, has he ever, did anything inappropriate or, a diddler. And some schools don't. But I've noticed that the security in a lot of the schools over the past few years has gotten intensely different. Like it's like old school Miami schools now, like the gates locked, but when you go in, you like pushing on the door, like you pull the door open, you're like, "Welcome to Prison High School. How can I help you today?"
Yeah.
So I have seen a lot
of detectives where I went to school, and I was in a decent neighborhood. It was the '80s, though, man. It was it was time when people were just shooting each other over nothing. So
yeah, a pain in the ass. It's just sometimes I just don't understand that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that too. If you treat kids like they're in an institution, they're going to act like they're in an institution. School's obviously an institution, but I mean, like a penal institution or something of that ilk.
Yep. I mean, and I did notice that the kindergartner kids, they have a really good attention span for about 15 minutes, which is good.
Yep. That's the average.
They're sitting on the floor. Somebody farts in the back, they all giggle and kind of breaks the monotony. And then the next kid farts over here. And then the other one starts, everybody's laughing. So it's like the fart brigade going around and picking noses and flicking, "Hey, put a bugger on me," and I miss that stuff. How you doing? I miss a lot of that stuff because don't you remember when you were a kid, you can like pick your nose and stick it on your ring. Excuse me. You see if you can get it on the teacher's shirt and stuff. Don't say you tell me you didn't do that because we used to do it all the time, Jeff. We'd get those big hangers. Like my dad would make us work in the yard when he was cutting the grass, and we'd breathe in all those big bangers, dude. And you'd pull that sucker out and stick it on a teacher, and you were like the king for a week, bro. You'd get everybody's lunch.
Dude, I know how that goes.
Oh, you're the man, dude. He stuck it on the teachers. I wish I would have got Mr. Pfeiffer more that principal. He was a piece of work, that guy. God, he was something else. He was one of those guys, dude. He kind of looked like Gallagher. And he went in there. I think he just yelled and screamed everybody so he could abuse kids because I bet his wife beat his ass at home. I wonder if he's still alive. Mr. Pfeiffer from Vale Elementary. You guys can look him up.
He's probably not still active. He might still be alive.
What a punk bitch, dude. That guy was. And he was so scared of my mom, bro. He like threw me out of the school. He threw me out pretty much.
Yeah,
because
that shit, Michelle.
Well, you know how things happen, dude. What's it say here? It says Massachusetts is trying to raise the age of juvie to 21. It's less kids in prison.
I mean, it's I'm not a prison person.
How about less kids?
Prison now is run for money. It's a lot of it's privatized and it's corrupt and so on. But if you're old enough to make an informed decision, you should be old enough to deal with the consequences. Excuse me. Move it.
It's okay.
I just think that you got to have some comeuppance. You can't just run around and do whatever the fuck you want.
Agreed. But yeah, I've been watching. Sometimes I go on to X and I, which is the former Twitter, and I start looking at some of they show school fights and stuff. And I mean, some of these students that are from 10th through 12th grade are like physically assaulting their nurses and their teachers just because they know that they can't touch.
Yep. It's a serious crime.
Dude, just one teacher, man. He was getting jumped. He had enough. They were punching him and he just shut it down, dude. And they said he got expelled. I find that insulting.
The teacher got canned or the kid?
Yep. The teacher.
Yes, that's fucked up, man. I think that if a kid comes and swings on you, I'm swinging back. I don't care how old.
First of all, if it had been the other way, it would have been a lot worse, as we know. But it was the teacher. It was a black teacher, male black teacher, and a male black student, and he they screamed in his face, and he's like, "Look, Mr. So-and-so, I've asked you not to do that. I'll send you the video. It makes you sick." Yeah. He's like, "Look, I've never cussed at you." And he's like, "Don't you talk to me, motherfucker." And he's screaming at this teacher. He's like, "I'm not screaming. I'm just telling you, we can't be disruptive right now." And he gets up and he just nails him. And then it was like a pit bull fight. They all jumped him. Well, yeah, he was a bigger guy. And he stood up and he threw a few of them across the room, grabbed one by the neck, the other one by his hair, and threw him out the door to save it. And then there was same school, another teacher, white lady teacher, opened the door and she's like, "Guys can't be in here. Whatever, we're in class." And it was older students trying to come in and mess with whatever. And so when she opened the door to say that, this huge kid punched her right dead in the face and dislocated her jaws and dropped her to the floor.
What is wrong with people,
and
man?
Everybody in the classroom that had the phone going was like, "Yeah, woo! Beat up Mrs. So-and-so." Like it was
World star.
Yeah, it was like this whole. So I know that we have these people that have these bleeding hearts, but if I went to school and disrespected like that and to that effect, and I'm in the wrong and a teacher beat the shit out of me, I wouldn't do it the next fucking day.
Nope. I wouldn't do it ever again.
We have this thing like, "Oh, there's just little kids and you got to worry about little kids." You kick the shit out of one of those motherfuckers one time. I don't even care if they're 9 years old. Beat the shit out of them. He's not doing it again. And now I know that it's a case by case. I know that there's kids that are abused at home. So don't take what I'm saying as literal, but a lot of these kids are just assholes and they have good parents. They just are assholes because they know nothing can happen to them, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like over the time, when I first started going to school, and you too, we could still get spanked and hit by our teachers.
Yep.
I remember that. You could go get a whipping from the principal. And we didn't really act up that much, man, because we didn't want to get battled. Right? Or in the Catholic school, put your hands on the table.
Get wrapped with a ruler or a switch.
But we learn. So we're quick to yank a dog or yell at, but when it comes to kids, we're like, "Oh." And I think you can coddle him into a shit bag.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're reinforcing, coddling them, you're giving positive reinforcement for a negative act. I mean, 100%. Positive reinforcement doesn't always mean you're reinforcing somebody for doing good. It's just a type of reinforcement you give. So, if a kid fucks up and you smack him, that's a negative reinforcement because he knows if he fucks up, he's going to get smacked again. But if a kid, if you give a kid a reward for something, that's a positive reinforcement. And if you reward people for bad behavior, they're going to keep doing the bad behavior. Just like Judy got it right. It's a learned behavior. And the more they get away with it, and the more they are allowed to continue, the more it's going to happen.
On that statement, I'm going to hear a lot of people are going to probably bitch at me. They're like, oh, you can't do this. And there's other ways. There isn't other ways with some people. There really isn't other ways. I mean, we forget that we're primates.
We're
Right?
animals.
We forget that we have sometimes a little physical behavior is needed. Some people, unless you punch them in the fucking mouth, dude, as an adult, they don't learn. So, when you think that when you, let's see, hurting a medic, so going to the hospital for stitches, there's a sign that said hurting a medic is a federal offense. Take care of me or I can take care of you. Yeah. They don't want people beat up. That's
it's the same
should be
like doctors and nurses. I don't know if it's federal, but it's a felony.
So like this is what I believe. I firmly believe in this. Say you have an excessive bully at school, not your typical needed bullies, but your excessive bullies. And there's another kid there and he stands up for a kid that's being bullied, right, Jeff?
Yep.
And he beats the fucking teeth out of this motherfucker. He should not be punished.
Oh, I agree with you.
A peaceful man.
He shouldn't be punished for defending somebody.
He stood up for the tribe. And the fact of the matter is he stood up for the tribe. And we punish them. We'll punish them too. Well, we're going to throw
right. There's a zero tolerance.
Yeah. And sometimes the zero tolerance, but the bully still comes to school. He still assaults the kid in the bathroom. Right. He still picks on him because, whatever. And I think we should isolate some of those kids that are pricks like that. Get them out of the general population. Because you're ruining a lot of good kids. I see it all the time. I've seen some brilliant kids and I've seen some dumb fucks, right?
Of course.
They're all in the same class getting yelled at the same. And you're really holding back some beautiful minds for a lazy kid.
I was going to say,
because they're a kid doesn't make them any better than anything. There are kids that put an effort in and they should be recognized for it. Period.
Yeah, teachers spend so much time dealing with shitty behavior that they don't get to nurture the minds of the kids that are there to learn, that have the thirst for knowledge. And I think that
they can learn from, or that they can learn from.
That's the rub in the education system, is that you don't, I mean, if you kick this kid out of school, you're not only condemning him to a fucked up life, but you're condemning the people around him and the people he has interactions with the same thing. But if you keep him in the class with the students that want to learn and they're constantly disruptive, then they're not going to learn and they're not going to benefit from being in school. So why are they going to want to go to school if they have, if there's nothing for them there? So you're kind of killing them on two fronts.
It's everything is so at your fingertips anymore. So there's really no punishment. Okay,
right.
You're going to send me detention. I'm going to sit here on my cell phone. They try to take the cell phone. You can't. You're not allowed to take.
But you couldn't do anything in detention when I grew up. You had to sit there and look at the front of the room.
Right, but if you go, my daughter or my son, you're not allowed to take his cell phone, and you instruct the school that he is not to be without his phone, they can't take it.
Yep.
So if he's an asshole and he wants to go sit in detention, he's going to sit in detention with it, right? And he's going to do whatever. I'll just sit here and play my video games.
And that's the parents' fault.
Yep, and that's the problem with but most parents are delusional, dude. Come on, they think that their kids are perfect. Like, oh, it's just he's exploring himself. No, he just stabbed that little girl with a pencil, right? And he's running around with his dick out. He's not learning himself. He's a piece of shit. Straighten him out. You know what I mean? And so we create these little garbage bags. But let us not forget that Jeffrey Dahmer was born the way he was born.
Yep.
Okay. Nobody made him that way. He was that way. And so the bottom line is you're going to have assholes, whether they're fresh out of the vagina or 10 minutes from the grave. That's just how they're going to be. And so I think we just forget, because we should start getting rid of those types of people. When you start getting that energy and those types of kids, you need to put them in their own place. They need to have their own place to go where they can be counseled by people that are able to do that. Because your modern teacher, your basic teacher that's just trying to give kids a choice and teach them are not trained.
They're a teacher, not a disciplinarian or a...
Right. They're not trained to be a psychologist. They're not trained to be a psychiatrist. They're not trained to be that type of disciplinary. It's not fair to them, for one. Right. There are some teachers that are just tool bags, and there's some really good ones out there too,
A lot of these parents send their kids to school, thinking that the school is going to be a surrogate parent, that they don't have to do anything because they're going off to school to do the same thing, that the teachers are teaching them, how to live their life and how to be decent human beings. The teachers are there to teach them math, history, science, home economics, what have you. So if you send your kid to school expecting them to learn how to be a decent, human being and a good person, that's not what they're there for. that's what counselors and therapists and, but they don't want their kid to see a counselor. Well, my kid's fine. They don't need to see a counselor. They don't need to see the school.
That's on them. That's just they're embarrassed. There's no way I made someone with problems. I'm perfect.
Yep. Man,
and I think you hit it. You hit that. They were good there. That's true.
Yeah, and I think that that now it's to the point where they're so hypersensitive about things that at the drop of a hat. Just give you a quick example. Ruby had an asthma attack at school not too long ago at our new school this year. Okay. And they called me and they're like, oh, well, she's having an asthma attack. She doesn't have medicine. So we called 911. I live 5 minutes from the school. I said, I'll be right there. I'm a respiratory therapist. This is what I do. When I got there and they had EMS there, who doesn't have a fucking clue necessarily of what to do, as far as her specific situation went. So I kind of took over and I told the EMS guys, I was like, you're good. I got it. And they're like, well, we have to call EMS and she has to go home and this and that. I was like, you can't have a blanket policy for all kids. You have to treat the individual kid. And I know it's a little bit more work, but yep. She's a good kid. She's a good student. She listens to the teacher. She's never had any kind of school trouble. And, she doesn't need to be singled out. And, they made a mountain out of a molehill, basically.
Yeah, to cover their own ass because they're scared because everybody's suing everybody. Right. Everybody's sensitive. Right. It's ridiculous. There's a lot going on in the world, folks. And I'm a like Jeff, I'm a firm believer in doing what you want. Don't hurt people and don't be an asshole. If you choose to be
harm, man. That's right.
Be hateful. If you choose to be a man and then you decide that you're a woman and you want to dress like a woman and someone accidentally calls you sir or says something, you're not doing that good of a job at looking like a woman. So you need to go back into the mirror and fix yourself up.
Real problem.
You don't swing on somebody or punch them or say you're offended or have a panic attack because they found out what you are. Some of this stuff has gotten so out of control. And I'm even watching it where the kids that are like the boys now that are dressing like girls and then going and beating up girls in school. Come on. That's a thing.
That's I'm old school in that way. Any man that hits a woman, don't get me wrong. I'm all for equal everything, but from a physical standpoint, men are physically stronger than women. I know very few women that if I gave them a full force punch in the face, that it was, it's not just going to destroy them. And
I just think that I think a lot of it is getting to be out of control anymore. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do, but then to use it, and I think some people use it. You got some hateful little fucks, and they use it so they can get the one up on somebody or beat them or swing on them or say he assaulted me or insulted me because I'm this or I'm that. And they use that shit. But like I don't think any woman should even hit a guy. If you're in an argument and your wife smacks you, punches you in the neck, don't act like a dude, man. Don't act like it, because I used to hear this growing up, like, oh, a guy that'll punch a woman's a pussy. Listen, that is not true. The guys that go and beat their wife repeatedly that are drunk or beat on their kids or their wife is a pussy. Right. But if you're a grown man and you're out and a woman punches you in the face,
that's different. That's a different story.
And you put her down because that's what you had to do. That doesn't make you a pussy. Like there's a time and a place. But I have seen in my life, it's okay. Growing up, it's okay in movies. In plays, it's okay for a woman just to haul off and slap or punch a man when they have a disagreement. We were taught that. Maybe not so much anymore, but when we were young, it was on all the TV shows like, how could you? Wham! And then I thought to myself, well, what if you reverse that? The guy goes, Lucy, how could you? And he slaps her right in the mouth. How do you think that would go? So
go over like a fart in church.
Okay. Women can do whatever they want and punch guys, but if guys touches them, they're a coward. Well, nobody should be smacking on nobody. It doesn't matter what your sex is.
I was going to say you shouldn't beat on anybody for
You shouldn't. Never. No one should ever do that. You should always, if you're having an argument that you're that mad about, or if someone's out of control, guy or girl, and you have to restrain them, I understand that. Like, listen, hold them, calm down, relax. You're breaking up all the glass, whatever. Now, anybody that's dealt with somebody that has been in alcoholism or drug use or bipolar disorder, you can run into somebody, right? That's going to have that issue, and you got to detain them for your safety and someone else's. That's different.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can still get in trouble for that now too.
I know that's wrong. That's where the government steps too far into people's personal problems. Yeah. Now you have a choice, but I also believe that people who go home and want to go home just to punch their wife and kids because they had too many beers that's a terrible thing.
Right. Yeah. No, if you take your anger out.
Right. And women do it too. There's women that go home and just beat the living shit out of their kids. They're not exempt from that either. they do it too. So I just remember a lot of that type of stuff. And I think to myself, we're so protective of it, right? And we're so misled and taught that nobody cares. And now they're using things like, oh, I was misgendered, so I'm going to punch this person and prove a point. Well, why? Just because someone's an elderly person and they're not like you doesn't make them a racist or a hateful or a Nazi. I hate hearing that, right? You don't have the right to do that. I personally believe you can do whatever you choose to do in America. Just don't hurt anybody. Yep. If you want to dress up or transgender or become whatever, do your thing. If you want to hate on black people and Mexicans, hate them, but you're not allowed to hurt them, right? You want to be on opposite minority and you want to hate whites, good for you, but you don't want to propel it. Why do you constantly teach that? Why is that constantly pushed into society? There's no reason. I have no reason to hate Jeff because he's Jewish. What he is has nothing to do with how I feel about Jeff.
It's not what, it's who.
You don't understand that. Like, well, I like Jeff, but he's a fucking Jew. Oh, what the fuck is that? Oh, Troy's cool, but he's white trash. He must be a racist supremacist. No, you don't know what you're talking about. And so, and everybody in the world is racist. Everybody. It's natural to be that way. I don't care if they, I'm not. I'm a loving. No, you're not.
Yep. No, you're still not. Cross the street and clutch your purse, and and
yeah, you love them and you'll give them $1, but you'll roll that window up and lock the door if you see a black person crossing the road, or you see somebody that you're scared of, or a biker, or somebody that doesn't look like what you consider a good-looking person, which are usually the dirtiest, I might add.
Yeah, oh, definitely, man.
Polos and khakis, those are generally rapists and diddlers, dude. So it's just
right with the square glass, with the fucking Dahmer glasses and the trench coats and shit. I'm on this when I was in South Tampa. Now that I'm not in South Tampa anymore, but I was on this like that South Tampa neighborhood forum, and reading some of the shit on there is just like, it's crazy. Like, oh my god, there was a black kid. He was obviously doing drugs in the parking lot. Should I call the police or should I do this? And like they'll show a picture, and it's just some kid sitting there, doing nothing, might live there, minding his own fucking business. These people are they're all up in everybody's shit. That's a lot of the problem too, is that people don't mind their own business. Stay in their fucking lane.
This is another thing I would see, and this usually comes from them little skanky girls, right? I worked in the bar business for a long time in my life. A long time, okay? I worked at some of the most major nightclubs in Central Florida, like the Zuma Beach Club, Taboos. I've seen a lot of things happen at the Taboo nightclub. And I remember back when we were at Zuma Beach, we would have these boxes on the side of the stage that the girls could get up and dance on. So what I'm going to say is the girls will come in. They're, in between 19 and 24. They want to get up on there in their little mini skirts with no underwear on. And if a guy comes up, they want to sit on his head or grind on his face, sit their ass on his head. The minute some guy goes, woo, and he gets excited, he slaps their butt or he grabs it after they just sat on his face now with no underwear. Right, folks? Let's just paint that picture. They'll turn around and kick these guys in the teeth. And then they get thrown out. Oh, he touched them. It's okay for what part is not allowed to be touched? So his forehead up your ass is okay. But if he just slapped the outside over the clothes because you got him excited because you sat on his face, it's okay to turn around and kick his teeth in with your big boots? No, it's not. So it had been me, I would have just ripped her off that stage and thrown her through the door and hope it didn't open when she hit it. And then they want to go complain, he touched me. Well, you're half naked and you're sitting on his fucking face. I mean, what's the thing? So this area is okay. You can shove this up my ass, but you can't go like this. So I would see all that stuff over and over and over and over, And so it's just to me, like, we're so crooked on the things that we tolerate and don't tolerate. Just blows me away. Now, you have a right as a male or female to go to a nightclub and dance and not be touched.
Absolutely.
But if I'm up on the box and I'm dropping my nuts on every girl's head that walks up because I'm this whatever, and somebody grabs one, dude, because they like it, they're excited, they want to give it a jiggle, I don't have a right to kick them, whether it was a right or a girl or a guy, but I'm resting my nuts on their chin, dude. I don't understand the concept of what that's always all about. You know what I mean? Because
I'm with you there. I think that and it also has a lot to do with what the other person looks like. If it's a good looking guy, it's fine. It's flattering. And if it's some ugly skanky guy, it's assault.
Yeah, or a guy that's a little overweight and he's drunk and he hasn't got out and he just passed his bar and he's
right.
They beat the shit out of him and it's sideways, folks. People are sideways and what they choose to fight over, and they pick and choose.
Yeah, for sure.
It's awful. So you shouldn't do it at all. And go and have a good time. And dudes, don't grab girls when you're out in public. Don't sexually assault them. Don't act like that. That's an idiot thing to do. And what I meant was, earlier, the Dockers and the polo shirts with the collars popped are usually your roof.
Are we talking about Dan and his flying dong again? Or
Yeah, exactly. Your Rufinol rapists, khakis, khaki Dockers, loafers with no socks, a yellow or maybe baby blue polo shirt with the collar popped, and then the visor hat, right? The spiky frosted hair. Those are your fucking rapists. They always are. Every time if you wake up in the morning, folks, and you want to look like that to go out, you're a fucking dick. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. You can go to any biker party and you never run into those problems. You go to Bike Week and you don't run into those problems until one of them walk in. For example, we went to that place I told you about, Jeff, the Speakeasy, right? The Speakeasy in Tampa, which you and I have to go to. You'll absolutely,
definitely, dude. I'm down.
You will love it.
Sweet.
So we were in there with Heidi. Heidi was with us, who's on the show. Ashley, we had a bunch of people with us. Flavio's sister, everybody. And these yuppie guys came into a goth bar. I mean, look at us. Do we look like we don't want to be around you? This is our own place. Get out. Sounds wrong. Well, he has a right to be there too. Well, I really don't care. What do? They come in and start assaulting the girls in there. Like, hey, you want to come home with us tonight? We're doing a blah, blah, blah. And so I just think to myself, and then what do? They walk over and start hassling the people I'm with inappropriately. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't do that here. We don't do that in this place, And that's a prime example. But if you would have seen, my point to the story is, if you would have seen the people that look like me and Jeff that walk in and out of there, and some of them worse than what we look like, are the nicest people there. All right. And then these clean cut guys in their little yuppie shirts are your touchers, your diddle me Davids. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
like tickle me Elmo.
Nobody ever wants to speak the truth. They never want to talk about it. They're always like, well, Matthew was drunk. He was drunk with his friends, and he didn't realize where he was shoving his thumb. Okay. He didn't realize it. Tara said, just because they show it to you doesn't mean you can touch it. Ask Daniel. Okay. Showing it to you and laying it on your face is two different things, Tara. So if you decide to go to a nightclub and not wear your underwear or a really small thong where you can see your butthole through the string, and you sit it on someone's forehead, and then someone gets excited and goes, woo, and spanks it, and you turn and kick them, you're wrong. But if you show it to them and you're giving them a little wink, a little bottom wink, that's different, dude. They're not allowed to touch it. I mean, I don't know how to be more real than that. That's the realest thing. Obviously, that's it. So touch me, Terry, diddle me, David, and butter me, Brian. Daniel is a few French fries short of a Happy Meal, folks. So some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, the Motley Croc Show does not condone or even respect at times. So just understand that Dangling Dan is on his own. Dangling Dan, beginner's guide. Jesus doesn't have anything to do with it. He's not even around anymore, so we don't even think about what he's doing. But people like that are they have all kinds of excuses of why they do what they do or they don't, and just it's a very simple procedure, but we overlook it, and then we end up doing things and letting shit go. We probably shouldn't let go, Jeff.
Yep.
We probably shouldn't let it go.
It's the truth, man. Excuses suck. I hate excuses.
I try to be fair to everybody. I know that we don't always agree with each other. Our friend groups or family, we always have different views. But I really try to be what you want to be. Just don't harass me. Don't come up and talk to me about my tattoos. I hate that.
Me too.
Don't roll your sleeve up because you just got, Jesus tattooed on your arm. It says, and I love my mom, and go, I like your tats, bro. I'm telling you guys and listening land out there, if you go to anybody and say that, something's wrong with you right here. Something is wrong with you. I think Jeff's got some cool ink, but I don't think once I've like, hey, Jeff.
I like your tattoos. Love your tattoos. Oh, dude. I went.
I just Vaselined it.
I went to pick up the U-Haul yesterday, and the guy was just all on me about my tattoos, and he just wouldn't stop with it. He's like, oh, this is what he said to me, Troy. You love this. He's like, I wish you could just rub arms together and your tattoos would come off on me. I was like, yeah, you wish we could fucking rub tips. That's what I think.
Oh, my God. Who says that, bro?
He said it to me. There was only the two of us there, and he was like a close talker. But he it did kind of pay off in the end because I brought the truck back with a little under on the gas because I thought they charge you by the mile. So
he thought you were cool, didn't he?
He called me this morning. He goes, hey, if you come over right now, take the truck for gas. I won't charge you the $70. I was like, all right, cool.
That's nice, man.
He just wanted to see me again.
I get it.
Rub fronts.
I get it when little younger guys do it that are just coming out of their home and they're like working.
This guy was my age.
Like I saw it's a couple baggers. They get these new baggers at Publix, and I go in there, and they probably look at me like, "What the fuck?" This is either Charlie Manson or he's cool, and they'll say something. They're like, "Man, I can't wait." I'll say, "What?" They're like,
those are kids that want to be us.
Yeah, they're like, "I want to get tatted like that, man. I can't wait till I can go do it. I'm 17. As soon as I turn 18, I'm gonna get my first tattoo."
Yep.
And all I say to them is, "Awesome, dude, but be wise about what you get and start high and go low. Don't start from your hands up."
Yep. I know that's just disrespectful to everybody who fucking had to creep it down all the way to the hands.
Well, because there's a level of tattooing your neck or your face, in Jeff's case, and the top of your hands, your pictures. There's a level of tattooing. You better be able to live in this world the way it lives and be like that. So I see a lot of these girls now getting these like big roses that say like Maurice or Love Johnny or whatever on their hand, and a big rose. And I'm like, listen, guys, you're like fucking 17, and that's really gonna you probably should have started high. So I say sometimes you'll get a tattoo, and then as you guys get older, if it's not your lifestyle, you're not going to want it.
Totally.
So when you start on your hands, it's a lot harder to hide than when you start on your top. Work your way
what
down.
I thought was cool when I was 17 is nothing compared to what I think is cool now. Like I just 100%. The tattoos I avoided. Because back 100%. Then I'd be looking at Flash. I'd be like, oh, I want that Wile E. Coyote in a Zorro suit. Like, why, dude?
Bro, but that would be cool now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, fuck yeah, it would, dude.
That would be awesome. That would be cool right now. But we went through a point in our life where we're like, that's not cool. And I feel sorry for a lot of people that went and got into all that tribal shit, man.
Oh, dude.
I used to tell people, I know that this is an easy way to get a sleeve, but I don't think this is something you want to do. This is way too.
How about these guys with the barbed wire?
Oh, Lord. Never.
But they don't want it's got to stop like right here. They won't go all the way around.
Yeah, because let me tell you, folks, it hurts. It hurts up in that armpit. You want to cry, bro. You want to cry. But you know what? It's worth it. They're worth it. And I never did. I never did. And I honestly got tattoos. I can't say for you, Jeff, but I got tattoos so people don't talk to me. I wanted them to roll up their windows and not talk to me about shit. So
I used to roll up my sleeves like get a tattoo. Intimidated. So people
I don't even want him to I didn't get him so I can go, come talk to me about my tattoo.
Yeah. Ask me about my tattoo.
Yeah, don't talk to me about it. Just, most people, I'm going to tell you folks, most of your tattoos are trash. They look like shit. If you ask me to look at them, I'm going to pick them apart because we know what they're supposed to look like.
Yep.
I don't ask.
I got them because I love the way they look.
It's a resource that we use to, it's who we are. Like,
right. We just wear our personality on our skin. That's all.
Like I can't dress like the Wolf on Wall Street. That's not my look. I mean, I could.
You look good, though.
I would look like I was going to court. They're like, oh, he must have raped somebody or shot someone at that gas station because he looks nice. It's okay to look nice, and I clean up good. So does Jeff. I've seen Jeff. He's pretty sharp.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And it looks cool sometimes, but that's not our look. Who we are is what we project, and differences of opinion or not, that's just who we are. And you know us by that. We're a little rough around the edges. And I think that gives us an advantage a lot of times.
Special, man. It's when I first started getting tattooed, there was not a lot of tattooed people. There was bikers, sailors,
Yeah.
Like if the only thing that usually people said to a tattooed guy in a suit was, "Will the defendant please rise?"
That's what I'm saying.
And my parents hated it. They're like, "You'll never get a job. You'll never do this." I was like, "I get it. This is who I am."
Yeah, exactly. And you got a job and you're doing okay. But that was just a different
Hell time. Yeah, man. That's why I got into the industry.
On the flip coin, too. I think it's cool that people get tattoos now. I think it's
absolutely
cool because it opens more doors for us and you're a little more advanced. And I think that body modification of any sort is an expression. Can it be overdone? Absolutely. If I come and get 21 piercings in my nose, I'm overdoing it. You know what I mean? Come on. To some people, it's a thing. Whatever. Oh, cut my nose off and stick a bar in there. Cool. If that's what you want to do, but you have to suffer.
Look like Voldemort.
You have to suffer the repercussions of your decisions. So you can do what you want, but in the society that you want to work in, you better either be a self-made millionaire or you better know how to hustle, because if you don't, they're not even letting you on private.
People don't know nowadays, man. When we were coming up, you couldn't get a job with a visible tattoo.
Like I know what it's like when I bet you when no, you couldn't. There's no way.
Not even just a little fucking like a little mom on your goddamn bicep.
I was tatted.
Cover that up.
I was tatted into the to the late 90s, early 2000s to my wrist. I didn't have anything, and we went in actually. Me and a friend of mine, we got hired. We got that's funny, Michelle. We got hired at SeaWorld. I'm sorry, take that back. Living Seas at Disney World. Me and a friend of mine. We were working. I was working at Discovery Cove, and he was working for SeaWorld. He was a trainer, but he wore wetsuits all day, and they were a little more lenient, right? The Busch Gardens company. And we got hired all the way through the process, and then the process, we were done with everything, and then we had to go in the room and put on these wetsuits. And when we took our stuff off, our clothes off in there to put the wetsuits on, they saw all of our ink, and they were like, "Sorry, we can't hire you." Right there. Just because I'm like, well, you're never going to see it, and we're behind the scene. Nope. Policy says none. Yeah. And you guys have way too many. I'm thinking,
yeah, you used to not be able to
lost 2 good divers.
Nowhere.
We lost 2 good divers, man, because we were great divers and we knew what we were doing, and we've been hull scrubbing at SeaWorld for a long. It's just to me, it was and Tony was a great diver and he was a great animal trainer. They just lost a good person because of that.
Yep. And I think they see that now.
I know. And she said some fighter medic jobs you still can't. I don't understand that concept. I think it's a stupid thing. People need to grow up,
Yeah, I know Tampa Fire Rescue are covered in tattoos, and now they all have mustaches now too, because they can't wear a respirator, a fireman mask without it, with a beard. So, but they come into the hospital all the time, sleeves rolled up, fucking tattoos flying. It's all good now. Piercings. I wear my nose ring to work. Nobody says a goddamn word about it. I think
they need you. They better. They need people. They need them.
Damn right. And I think post-COVID, in a post-COVID world where we just lost, over 1 million people, that there's places where there's nobody to do work, and you got to start thinking, is this person going to do a good job? Are they going to have good customer service skills? Are they well-spoken? Are they, honest? These are the traits that people should have, just give you like an example of a tattoo. My mother, she accepted my tattoos, but you would constantly be asking people about, oh, my son has tattoos. I don't know if he can get a job. And we went to a funeral where there's this Orthodox rabbi, and my mom tried to apologize for me, which I don't like being apologized for fucking anything. If I'm going to apologize, it's going to be me. Right. So, and he looked at her and, he said, well, is he a good person? My mom said, he's the greatest. He said, that's all that really matters, is that he's a good person at the end of the day.
I agree.
None of this, none of the surface, the glasses, the beard, the tattoos, it makes shit a difference. Yep. At the end of the day, if you're a good person and people know you're a good person and they can rely on you, and you could, and you're somebody who can rely on people because you treat them right, that's the important thing. Taking care of the people around you. And, I know Troy and me and most of my friends would kill or die for their friends and family. Doesn't matter what they look like on the surface. They pull a baby from a burning building, or it doesn't matter.
I'm trying to make beginners. I'm not really sure what you're saying. You got to kind of be a little bit like, let me know what you mean by that. My dragon was finding lost family adopted. Do you see that?
I see it. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't. I'm trying to understand it too. Just so we know what's up. And then for me, try and talking my husband into No More Sorrow, Lincoln Park. I'm just trying to figure out where you're going with that. So yeah, and you got that right, Jeff. Good call, and that's really true. And I think that there's a lot of that, and I support. If you want to get tattooed, you want to do your thing. And I think a lot of people who want tattoos, because of that stigma, if you will, yeah, they won't get it. They won't get one because they're scared, like back in their head, maybe Jesus is really going to put me in hell if I get it, and you burn that into somebody, and that's just. We'll do an episode on we can even do it on the Torah, and we can do it on the Bible, and we can talk about perception and what you're taking versus what's being told. And I'll be very clear. I never said that the Bible is stupid, and I never said the Torah is stupid or any of that religious teaching. A lot of that is very wise. It's a very wise teaching. There's teaching there. Okay. There's
a lot of it is written by scholars and
right. Exactly. And so when you're learning the teachings of an ancient book like that, there's a lot to be said. There's a whole lot of things in there that we should definitely take a look at. I mean, the fact that the Bible itself spoke of the earth as a sphere, a void sphere, is very interesting to me. And it goes way back into the original Bible, which is way before the King James Version. And they talk about this void sphere. So the fact that they knew that was interesting too. I know that there's people out there that say it's flat too, whatever you want. So either way, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, when they talk about these different things, there's a lot of stuff that should be recognized when it comes to things like the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, anything, any old teaching, anything from Egypt.
Some of the smartest people of their time. You know,
Yep.
it's easy to look back on it now, and when we have all these resources, and to say, oh yeah, well I know this and I know that. But if you're talking somebody who's got no, no computers, not even like modern like telescopes or anything, and they're figuring this shit out, man. There's a lot to be said for it, and I think that if I were to guess that it was taken from scholarly writings and turned into a mystical, magical man in the sky, by organized religion to control people. It's all about control.
Yep, and I think they took that teaching. They took a scholar teaching and they made it wrong. And I think that there's a lot of stuff, and they, I've said it a lot of times. A lot of things happened in the Bible that were probably really true. There was probably a lot of things going on. I mean, for example, real quickly, I'll say this: the monks 8,000 years ago, there's caves in the Tibetan mountains where, folks, you're more than welcome to look about it. It's completely there. It's real. All right. There are hands where the hands have pushed into the rock. Right. Not only that, but 30 feet up on the ceiling, there have been hands pushed through, because these writings said that these people were almost supernatural. They could elevate and they could move their matter through matter. Okay. That's not a joke, right? It was dusted up, sealed, duct tape shut, and not told anybody, and they released a new thing. But that 8,000 years is a lot longer than the Bible. Okay.
Yep.
There's other teachings that have been erased too as well. And if you just put
they're probably destroyed by the church.
Right. And you put your faith aside for a minute, you understand that there's a lot of things out there that were hidden to do stuff. I don't have any problem with anybody who practices Judaism or Christianity or Muslim. I think it's great. Have a religion. I know I trash on it sometimes, but I grew up in an era where everything I like,
y'all need Satan.
We do. I grew up in an era where anything that wasn't what they said was for the devil, and you were fucked and you were tortured with it. And it doesn't mean that the people who are doing it were right or wrong. And I just think that there's, so much to be learned about that, but I don't also destroy somebody's faith. And it took me a lot of years to realize that as an adult, to be not to be so blasphemous to someone's faith unless they're using it as a tool for deception, like to collect money or to have 10 wives or to rape kids or whatever the fuck.
Or to put somebody else down to, to what's the word I'm looking for? To, I guess, marginalize.
Yeah, exactly.
Other people, because that they're not as good as you because they don't worship the same God you do,
right?
Or they don't go to the same church, or they don't.
Well, they're shit. And in the industry of, I mean, in my experience of going to Catholic churches and stuff, and watching, I've had a lot of friends, and they're brought up Catholic. They get baptized. It's a tradition. They never go to church again, but they do it. But I've sat through a couple sermons. I've never, in Catholicism, I don't hear them trash a lot of other religions, just like I think going to the temple. In Judaism, they don't trash other Jews.
Never.
Knowledge, do they? No.
Never.
Now, when you get into Christianity, a derivative of Catholicism, and you watch what they do, there's Mormonism, there's there's Methodist, there's Baptist, there's Seventh-day Adventist, there's Pentecostal, there's whatever. And they all trash the other one, but it's the same God, same book, same reading, same minister.
Basically the same religion. I mean, it's all variations of Christianity, and they destroy each other. They're the only ones, especially people like the Seventh-day Adventists or the Apostolics. People who are like doomsday-ish. That if you don't follow that religion, the world's going to end and you're going to go to hell. They just keep changing the date.
Yeah, and I think why? If you're all in the same thing, when you're doing the same thing, why hate each other? Right. That's why I understand bikers do the same thing. We get together, we're part of groups, and then all of a sudden we hate another group. Why? We're doing the same thing, right?
Because they don't wear the same colors, because they don't understand. It's sad but true.
I think that we do the same thing, and I think we always have to. Yes, most Protestant religions and all other Protestant religions are other religions because they think that they're the only ones going to heaven, but they're not the only ones that are right. And I think that's true too. They'll do that. I now that I'm an adult and I look back on some of the stuff and the music I listened to, it was very political, Jeff. I didn't realize that at the time. I was too young to understand politics. but I get what was being said in a lot of the music. If you really go back, folks, if you want to do a little information journey, get into a rabbit hole, look up Iron Maiden and look up their lyrics about what they talked about.
Oh, like the Trooper and
Run to
Run
the
to the
Hills.
Hills.
Yep. There's a lot of
it
politics.
was
And they
about
were a good band.
and
Yeah, they were a good band. They weren't a satanic. They didn't do
No.
anything with the devil. They did the number of the beast, and they were talking about something completely different.
right, and a quote from the Bible.
Yep. Yep.
It's a human number. That number is 666.
Which is probably the best fucking song Iron Maiden
Oh,
ever
dude,
did.
I fucking get fired up over that. And that's all that song is about. Somebody was walking through the woods and came upon like a black mass or whatever, and apocalyptic shit like Red Barchetta and things like that kind of deal with a whole new, like a new world order.
My problem, I'll be
Stuff,
honest.
man.
I'll be honest on the air, man. I said it to my buddy Sean. I said I think Rush is extremely talented music. I just can't stand that guy's voice. I can't stand it.
Who, Geddy Lee? Yeah.
I some people really like it. Great. Like you'll hear this great music and it's I'm like, I can't do it, man. It's not that. It's just because it affects me in a way. But their lyrics are good. What they write about is good. A lot of that older stuff like that. That was one of my favorite songs. Not my favorite, as in I like to pound it out all the time. But the song "Holy Smoke" by Iron Maiden was
Song what?
bad. Holy Smoke.
Well,
Iron Maiden was a very true to the times. What they were saying, and I everybody was calling them devil worshippers, but none of that was really happening. And so now that I listen to a lot of it, man, we learned a lot of really valuable lessons in that music, to be honest, I don't remember a lot of Satanism in the music we listened to unless it was on the news and they were trying to exploit what they called cults or
absolutely
shut someone down because the
satanic
churches were
panic,
losing money. So they were doing the evangelist shit because the local churches were losing money who donate to the bigger churches and on and on. And so I think it was, we have to evangelism where they're filling out football stadiums full of people, dude, that are putting in $10 prizes.
And then they get caught doing something bad and they cry and apologize.
Yep.
Yeah, we should definitely do a show a little bit about some of the stuff that happened, when we were coming up, as far as what music got blamed for. And I've like Suicide Solution, and stuff like that. Ozzy got blamed for a bunch of people shooting themselves, and Sweet Leaf made everybody smoke weed, and it's just and it does it, and they dropped it when music today is all about shooting people, and I don't know. It made me crazy when I was a kid. The PMRC and Tipper Gore, telling us
they were real strict conservatives then. And then when he got elected, when he was trying to get elected, they were not conservatives anymore. Did you notice? Of
course,
that? Yeah,
of course. They
beginners got him 10 minutes till dinner. Every tattoo has a story. You get AIDS at the fair. My R, a deer in a spider web, eye trick, a yin yang dragon, finding lost family, flip you off emoji, and keep your job. No more sorrow. Just trying to figure it out. Yes, every tattoo. I'm just trying to understand that every tattoo has a story. Mine, sometimes we just sit down and we're bored in the shop and we were just scratching on each other. I'm sorry.
I got a lot of that shit on me.
What the hell is that? Oh, I decided I'd put those butt cheeks on you. Right, dude. So you're like, oh, you dick.
Yeah, work a dick in there somewhere. Or
yeah, if we ever get Justin back on here on his back, we'll talk about the tattoo on his back, and I'll let him tell the story. And if he shows it or just a picture of it up, man, you'll understand. He's real funny with that one too.
Craig, I have one of my Aki monitors. The male is named Aki Lawless. I just want to throw that out there for you.
I love it. People don't want to look at lyrics. Snap judgment. Watch headlines. Children and poo. We got to tell children about abused kids. Great songs. I loved Mr. Lawless. I loved Wasp. I love
I love Wasp, man.
That he wrote to piss off the PMRC was "fuck like a beast," and the lyrics were. And I would have done the same thing, guys. Anybody, and I know my family listens to me. I wowould have done the same thing. Pat Benatar, damn it, autocorrect.
Did you see where it autocorrected?
Yeah, that's funny. Pat Benatar, damn it, autocorrect. Yeah, so we had a lot of that stuff, and I don't think we're evil people because of it. We've had a really good time, and it inspires a lot of what we do. And
hell yeah,
and sometimes just try to get ourselves out there and be good folks, but be real to who you are. I really think
Damn
that's
right,
the best
man.
you can do. Take care of your people, man. No matter what, take care of your people. If you don't, it's okay. Shitty people will always talk shit about you and try to take you down or run. And you're going to intimidate everybody in the room. You're going to intimidate people. You're going to irritate people that are beneath you. And yes, there are people beneath you. Remember that. It's a true story. So at the end of the day, we've had a great live stream. I appreciate it, Jeff. It's been a great show with you.
Oh,
so
no worries, man. I like the twofers, man. These are good shows. We get into some shit.
Well, you might have gotten, I think you're trying to say AIDS, and you very well might have contracted the HIV virus at a fair. They're not very at times back in the day, very sterile.
Hepatitis C, that's what you got to worry about, stuff like that.
Yeah, so you just never know what you're going to get at a fair. I don't even like eating food at some fairs because you could be eating cat penis for all
Can you get AIDS from a deep fried Snickers bar, or
I don't know, you might be able to get hepatitis from some of the meat they serve out there.
Oh yeah, dude, fucking salmonella at very least.
No. So some fairs are wonderful. Some of the ones I work with Jimmy have been great. But at the end of the day, I appreciate the stream. Jeff, hang in there. We're going to jump off the air. We appreciate everybody coming out and everybody that's been on with us and commenting. Thanks for always being here. We love you guys.
Yeah, really later all.
And we'll catch up with everybody a little bit tonight. We're going to go ahead and end the stream.